Welcome everyone to our program tonight. This is sponsored by the Houston 50 Plus Adults Aging Solo Facebook group. I'm Julie Britt. I'm the host and one of the admins for the group. Tonight we will be hearing Lori Farris talk about prepare in advance to move to independent living. Lori Farris opened Senior Living Specialist branch in Houston. This is a senior placement company that advises on independent living, assisted living, memory care, and residential care homes. Her personal journey helping her parents navigate the system took her through independent living, hospitalization, skilled nursing, assisted living, hospice, and personal care homes, and a lot more. She was inspired to help families overwhelmed by the maze of senior care options find appropriate senior residents or communities for their loved ones. Lori has toured many communities throughout Houston and surrounding areas that offer various levels of care, types of living arrangements, and cost options. So she's the perfect person to talk with us tonight. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you so much for having me. So yes, I'm a senior living specialist. I go on the journey with many people, kind of trying to keep safety and care and needs and what they like to do and how they thrive and what's going to make them tick and get out of the burden of some of the other extraneous things like taking care of a house or wanting to stop driving all around and being isolated. And sometimes, I think this group is amazing because I think everyone should have a plan in place. I think that you are all able and at the great place to be able to make your own decisions. You don't want something to happen where you fall and break your hip and you live on the second floor and someone else is making decisions for you. So I encourage this kind of touring and plan in place. And it's more like where maybe you don't want to go as opposed to where you want to go, like check things off the box, see what you like about someplace and not about the other. So I think that it's really great what you're doing and you're educating yourself and you're taking your own life into your own hands and you're making your own decisions, not having other people make decisions for you. So that being said, I'm going to kind of concentrate more on the independent living side. I know a lot. I'm a certified dementia practitioner. I know all assisted living and personal care homes and things like that. And you're always free to reach out to me about those other things. But from your questions, I think it seems that you are mostly interested in next steps of where you are right now. And so if we can concentrate on the independent living side of life, I think that's good. I'm going to share a screen and do a presentation that I have put together. Of course, not everything pertains, so I might click through it really quick. My company has offices in Dallas and Chicago and Philly. We are a boutique senior living agency and we assist families in navigating. We also help people negotiate rates, and we kind of, if someone calls me and says, I need an active mahjong group, I want a place that I could have 2 dogs, I still play tennis, I want to do water aerobics, I want to be able to be in a neighborhood where I could walk around, or I want a grocery store within a couple miles, within the mile, kind of directing you in places and things. If you want fancy, if you want laid back, if you want to be have some trees around, whatever like floats, I can help point you in the direction. And I've toured over 500 different properties in and around we work from Woodlands to Galveston and all the way out from in Cypress to Richmond, Missouri City, things like that. So I'm going to stop and not really talk about my company, but I'm also a great resource if you ever need in-home care or home health or elder care attorneys or downsizing movers or realtors, whatever. So I have been fortunate on my journey to meet so many amazing people. I had someone reach out to me. They needed someone to come in and be a chef for a certain dietary plan. I hooked them up with someone that I have met along my journey. So whatever you feel like, dog walker, whatever, I probably have that resource. So feel free to always get in touch with me. So these are the 2 different types of senior living I'm going to concentrate. One is a CCRC, as it's called, a continuing care retirement community. Usually in a CCRC, It has all levels of care: independent, assisted, memory care, and long-term care, like a skilled nursing/nursing home. And residents move from one area to another as their needs change. Whereas independent living is kind of what you're doing now. They have independent living, but they have supportive services. So all your utilities are included. Some of them include cable or internet. Some of them don't. Some of them have all cable included, but not special packages. They all have housekeeping, laundry service, that some are included, some you need to pay extra, some have washers and dryers provided, some of them have hookups, some of them have hallway washers and dryers. And then they have a full calendar of activities, social events, exercise classes, different games, bridge games, mahjong games, Mexican train, or men's groups or women's groups, book clubs, and things like that. They provide transportation to doctor's appointments, so you don't have to go into the medical center. You can drop off and they can pick you up. Also, weekly trips to grocery stores or Target or various things, along with like trips to museums and things like that. I mean, assisted living is taking it to the next level. People who need help with their ADLs, dressing or bathing or grooming or med management, and then it goes on. But I'm going to concentrate on independent. And 55 plus communities, some of them are like you buy a house, like a Del Webb, Bonterra kind of thing, where there's a club in the middle and they provide 4th of July or bridge groups or exercise classes. Everyone owns their own home or rents it. Or there are 55 plus communities that are like apartment complexes, but are 55 plus and up living there. Don't have, but they might have, like I said, 4th of July party or Valentine's Day party or happy hours once a week and activities, but they aren't like they don't include utilities and things like that. So along the way, someone's interested in learning more about 55 plus. It's not really my wheelhouse, because 55 plus communities, like a Del Webb, is more like a real estate agent who would show you those. So wanted to clarify that it's more like a real estate kind of transaction. So these are more about types of senior living. We've done this. What is independent? I kind of went through that. What does it include? Housekeeping, linen, dining services, active programming, all utilities, transportation to medical appointments, and etc. I kind of want to run through some of your questions, and then I can explain what I think is the correct way of touring different places. So with CCRC, a lot of independent living communities have assisted and memory care included in them. There are rental properties. So I call those continuum of care, but not a buy-in community. So I kind of want to call CCRCs that are a buy-in community different from CCRCs that are rental communities. So buy-in communities like around town, I'll name a couple in case it's verified, like the Buckingham, the Hallmark, the Brazos Tower. There's one in Cyprus that I'm losing its name. There's one MRC in Clear Lake. They have all levels of care, including a skilled nursing. So you can basically enter an independent and go throughout your journey. If you did go to the hospital, you could come back to the skilled nursing on your property, which is kind of nice. I mean, it's not like you're coming home, but the people, your friends could visit you there. You would have some of the same caregivers. People get to know you, and it's not really a big transition from going from the hospital to a skilled nursing back home. You're still not going back home, but you're going back to the same property. And then later on, if there was a reason why you needed skilled nursing, like a feeding tube, or some reason why you needed a nurse or skilled nursing, you could end up in the skilled nursing/nursing home at the property. So skilled nursing is when you come to the hospital and you rehab there. A nursing home is when you permanently live there. So they call it skilled nursing, and at one point it's you're living in skilled nursing, which is kind of like nursing care. So, and they're predominantly buy-in communities. They'll look at your assets and your income, and you can move into a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom or a studio or whatever. It does ensure that you'll have space to move to assisted. along your journey, but you still do pay rent every month. So you put down a pretty sizable deposit. And if at any time you wanted to leave or you pass away, your beneficiaries or yourself would get 90% back of what you had originally put in. But I want to make it really clear that doesn't cover your rent. You still pay rent in all those places, but you have first priority to go to assisted or memory care than people entering from the outside. I do have to say that some CCRCs of that model are starting to do rentals, and a lot of them you can enter into assisted and memory care without the buy-in in the very beginning. So in Houston, that tends to be the older communities. It's an older business model in Houston. They're not really building any new communities. Glenlock Farms is one in Cypress. So they are not really building any new ones because skilled nursing is extremely expensive and Medicare is extremely difficult. So they are choosing to do the rental type properties. Some people really want to buy in and sure, some people want to be more liquid at the moment. It really is a financial decision. Personally, I think you guys are all at an appropriate age to do a buy-in if you wanted to. I usually tell my clients that are in their late 80s or 90s, like, why would you buy in? There are other places that I think you miss the beauty of a CCRC unless you go there when you're earlier and be super active. They tend to be larger properties with a lot of social cachet behind it, like where you fit in, where you feel good. Like Eagles Trace is another CCRC. But the newer models, the newer properties in and around Houston are independent living that also have assisted and memory care. And if you are in there, you do have priority first before people moving from the outside to assisted and memory care. They are, I don't want to say they're less expensive monthly, but you don't have to put a large amount of money down in the beginning. There was a question about community fees, but it was said in a different way. So all the properties have something called a community fee that are rental properties, which is, I want to explain it like this. You'll see on any information you get, there's a community fee. It could be $3,000, it could be $5,000, it could be 1 month's rent. And I liken it to a one-time HOA fee. It's not a monthly fee. It's a one-time HOA fee that covers, I mean, if you ask them what it covers, they'll say to get the place ready, to make sure it's properly staffed, it's an onboarding cost. I like to say it's a one-time HOA fee. I don't know what they're using it for, but it's not a secret. It's every property from New York, California, and up and down have community to get in. So it varies from community to community. Often people ask me if that's negotiable. I think sometimes it is negotiable. I would rather get the monthly price down than the community fee because it is a one-time thing. Because in the long run, starting at a lower base is going to get you farther along the way. But I think that you often, they don't negotiate on them, but certain ones that have very high ones, they will negotiate. So running out of money thing, not all CCRCs, some of the nonprofit runs like Abrazo's, I don't want to speak specifically because there will be different conditions at different buy-ins, that if you buy in at this price and you want to, they are looking at your assets and your income. And so along the way, they will say you can go to the end, but I think there are certain clauses in there about how you are spending your money during those times, not if you run out of money because you went to Paris every weekend. So I don't want to speak specifically to running out of money because Medicaid is very different here. And so each CCRC has kind of a different philosophy on that. It's not a blanket statement about if they will take care of you to the end. Okay, so there are different things built into clauses about what that means because Medicaid here in this country, in this state, is is shared room in a nursing, like assisted living or memory care, or there are no independent or memory care that accept Medicaid in Houston, Texas at the moment. So you can't go into assisted living and think you stay there and go on Medicaid. There, it doesn't exist in Houston. Once in a while, a company will say, there used to be before COVID, some places that would take Medicaid people with a STAR Plus waiver, it was called. But since COVID, there is not any people that accepting Medicaid vouchers. So it's clear that there are not any communities that I know of that you can stay at the Medicaid voucher that you move into. So I want to see. I don't know how. Okay, there's something about price range for one bedrooms. So there's prices in and around Houston for independent living that start at $1,600 for a studio or one bedroom, all the way up to $12,000 a month. So what is the price of independent living? That really depends on location, size, and like the overall appeal of the property. But I know of places that start at $1,600 a month, include 1 or 2 meals a day, do allow pets, do have maybe washing machines not in the units, et cetera, et cetera. So I think looking at a property and the prices will explain exactly what it costs, but on average, there are places somewhere in the 2s and 3s for a very nice property. I think if it gets to a luxe property, you're going to see 4s and 5s and 6s behind it for a like a more luxe property. So it says, can you recommend one or more in a target type? I don't really know what the target type is, so we'll get back to that. And I think we covered what's in the rental fees. All of them have fences or security. You cannot walk into a senior living without signing in or putting your name in. Most of them have front door people. They are locked at night. They are gated at night. There are security and access codes. So I feel that they're secure. I mean, you guys went to Holly Hall. You have to go through the front gate to get into the community. You have to also sign in, and it is locked, but it is not locked as in the sense that people can come in and out all day long. So, but there is security and a check-in process at most of them. I mean, at all of them that I have seen. Do they have patios and porches and paths? I mean, yes, at Holly Hall does have patios, porches, and paths. Some are high rises that have balconies. Some of them have views or walking paths outside if they have land in and around them. I think I kind of answered what happens if they don't subsidize and someone can no longer afford the rent. Like I said, going on Medicaid is in a skilled nursing, but there are lesser price options out there, which is something called a personal care home for later in life. If you need a lot of care and you have a specific social amount of money that you're getting in Social Security, but you don't qualify for Medicaid. I don't know if you want to get into that Medicaid. I think Angela might have explained that when she was talking. Do you have waiting lists? I think no one has a waiting list except for the ones that people want a specific unit. Like I want a 2+ bedroom at the Tradition on Buffalo Speedway. I can tell you right now there's a waiting list. But if you want to get into a community, there's not a waiting list. It depends on the size unit you want. I want a front view. I want a back view. I want to face the courtyard. I want this. I want that. Yes, there might be a waiting list. Most communities don't have a waiting list. It's every time Eagles Trace gets full, they build another tower. So I don't think there is waiting list. I do have to tell you that there is waiting lists at some CCRCs to get into assisted. Like they might have overbuilt the independent, and if you need assisted, you might be on a waiting list to get in there. And all of them are pets. I'm looking for someone right now that has 4 cats. I'm having a little bit of a problem. I'm looking for someone right now that wants to smoke. A little bit of a problem. And I don't know, I'm going to open it up for your questions.
Can
We'll
you
go over this correct way.
Lori,
You
let
say-
me interrupt you for a second. Would you stop sharing your screen since we're not using your slideshow at this point?
Yeah, let me go through this. Let me go, in case you do tour, let me go through this one piece here. This is how I think you should tour. I think, well, you have to always set up an appointment. I think that you should tour at least 2 times. Make an appointment at 2 different times of the day, like maybe go in the morning and then come back for lunch and stay for an activity, something that you can be involved, see the type of residence, and you could taste the food and something like that. I don't think you have to eat lunch the first time. I think to get the flavor and the understanding, some people don't want to walk far. Some people don't mind the walk. So you can see the general layout of the land, and then maybe make a more curated tour with lunch and then play bridge, or lunch, go to an exercise class or to a happy hour or something to know some of the restaurants. I think that when you do tour, you should meet with specific people that are interested. Some people are on a specific diet. You meet with the chef. Some people there was a crazy good bridge player, so she wanted to play bridge at each of the communities she toured because she wasn't going to go someplace that they weren't great bridge players. I think whatever specific, take a aerobics class if that's what you're into. On another tour, should be extremely curated. If you have a dog, maybe you want to be near the dog park, understand physically where all the stuff is in the building. And then I think you should look at the outside of the building, walk the perimeter, make sure it's well manicured, that it's clean, that they've taken good care of the lands. And I also think that there is a little bit of a financial responsibility for you to understand the financial background of the company and do your due diligence, its financial situation. And then the 4th one is meet other residents and references and try a meal at a busy time of the day. So I just want to see what this last question is. Yeah, well, these are some questions to ask, but let me unshare this. And if you want to add, I do a lot of assisted living. If you have assisted living or memory care or those questions, but shoot at me any questions more about independent that you're interested in.
I have a question. This is Gail.
Hi, Gail.
So we liked Holly Hall a lot. It's nonprofit, and I think from my perspective, nonprofit is a lot better than a for-profit at our price range, which is not one of these tradition kind of high end. Are there other communities like Holly Hall, and it's one of the older ones, and they subsidize you after a certain number of years? Wondering if there are any others in the kind of inside Houston that are like that you have.
I mean, there's Clairwood, which is up at 59. There's Clairwood. One thing that Holly Hall and Clairwood have is skilled nursing too. So I think that if that's something like Holly Hall and Clairwood does not have memory care.
Pam Perry had a suggestion.
Yeah, I want to say that I live in the Law Harrington Senior Living Facility. It's for people over 62. You have to make below a certain income to live there.
Where did you say?
Law Harrington.
Law, H-A-L-A-W, Harrington Senior Living. It's a very nice facility built by the Montrose Center. So there's people from the Montrose Center on site that provide programs. There's lunch 5 days a week that's really crappy, but it's a nice place to live because there's classes, workshops, and all that, and your rent is based on your income. Actually, it's based on the median income in Houston, Texas, and using some kind of percentages, and it's complicated. But for example, my apartment's about 50 square feet, and I have to pay $900. And some people that live here have the same size and they pay $450. And I have a washer dryer in my apartment, and it's a nice place to live, but you can't make a lot of money. You can't have a lot of money to get in here. So if you're poor, this is the place to live.
Pam, where is it?
It is right off of 288 near Southmore and Wheeler. It's over the other side of 288 from the Museum District. And it's in 3rd Ward, but it's the best location ever. It's right there by Southmore and Wheeler, and It's very
Thanks, I've never heard of it. That's good.
near Herman Park, about a half a mile from Herman Park.
How many units?
120. And there's usually a waiting list, but there's people always moving out. Like some people need to move out of here and go to assisted living because this is independent living only.
When you say ceiling on income, it's like it has to be less than like 40 or
Oh, it has to be less than 32, I think, 32,000, something like that. But it changes each year as the median income goes up. It's going to be different each year. So I can't tell you exactly what it is this year. I'm not sure. But I only made it in here by the skin of my teeth, $200. If I made $200 more, I couldn't have gotten in here. Oh, that's all. Thanks.
Well, Pam, once you're in, do you get to stay if the rates change, or do they kick you out?
That's a question. When I moved in, they told me you can stay here forever, even if you inherit a bunch of money. Now I've heard rumors that I have not checked out yet, that it might not be true after 5 years, that you might have to go through the income thing again, where you have to show verification of your income, like your Social Security income and my pension. I had to prove proof of income. So I'm hoping that's not the case, that I don't have to move after 5 years. I've been here three years so far. And people are friendly. It's a nice community. It's about, I'd say, half of African American, and it's advertised as being gay friendly, but I swear there's probably 20 of us that are GLBTQ. Not that many, even though it was meant for GLBTQ folks. It's a very small minority, but there's a lot of opportunities for socializing, which is excellent. There's movies, there's birthday day, there's bingo, there's a dance class I went to, there's type workshops like one's coming up on wills and trusts and estate planning and stuff like that.
Definitely sounds like something I would like to check into further. I've got a million questions, and I guess you're taking the chance that when is it decided that you're no longer qualified for independent living and need to move to somewhere else for assisted? How would that work?
Yeah, you do sign a yearly lease. So I don't know how that works actually.
So in senior living, you sign a yearly lease, but you have a 30-day out or a 60-day out. So say you move in March, but in May you fall down or you need some sort of living, you have to give a notice, which is usually an independent living 60 days. But if you have a doctor's notice, you can get it reduced to 30. Or if you're in a community like a Brookdale property, you can move directly from Brookdale independent to a Brookdale assisted with already paid the community fee. You don't have to give notice because you're within the same company. So I've moved many people out of Law Harrington that needed assisted living. Yeah.
Interesting.
I've been it's an amazing place to live.
Yeah, there's pros and cons. We have a crappy manager, but
I don't know. One lady says it's very noisy. I mean, she calls me every month, but she's not going anywhere. So
say that again.
One lady calls me every month. She said her neighbors above her are really noisy. I don't know. She calls me every month, but she's not going anywhere. She tells me about it. I mean, she's literally never moving, but I say, you love it there. Stay there and enjoy it. So, but I mean, I've only moved people out because they needed assisted or memory care or something.
So there was a question about negotiable fees. Did you say that monthly fees like Holly Hall are negotiable, or would you clarify that?
I mean, there is room for negotiation. You can always ask if they're running any incentives. They're usually based on occupancy levels. And so they are sometimes, but like when you ask that question, you need to be ready to move. It's like going to the car dealership and saying, what's the best you can do? And they give you the price and you say, okay, I'm going to come back a year from this July. I'm going to come back in September and buy it. They're going to be, no, that deal's not there. So if you're ready, this guy went to a Brookdale property that I sent him to, and in February they said we could give you 10% off and 2 months free, and then he didn't take the deal. And so today he called and he's like, I want 2 months free and 15% off. I'm like, that's not the deal they're giving you now. Like, they gave that to you in February, probably because there were more, not as much occupants, but I said, I'll go to bat for you. And yeah, I mean, I didn't get 15% off, but I told him he needs to be at this price point and 2 months free. And they honored my ask. So I
So
do
we'll
feel
talk to you if we need an ask, for sure.
yes, but I have to be your referral source. I can only negotiate if I'm the one who referred you there. So if you've been to Holly Hall, I can't help you.
Okay.
What do you know about St. Dominic at the medical center?
I think St. Dominic's is a sweet property. It's also very price conscious. In independent living, it does get a little dicey in assisted living. And but I do feel that it's on a beautiful campus. Obviously, if you're Catholic, that works out great. It does have a really good skilled nursing. It's pretty bare bones ish. But I think it's really, really sweet and really friendly. And people that are Catholic, that's the only place they're going. They love it there. But I do feel that it's a really nice community, and they do a lot of activities, and it's beautiful. I mean, trees are beautiful. The prices are good. The problem I have with places like Holly Hall, and well, each place has its pros and cons. I mean, I think Holly Hall is great. I think if you have an ambulatory problem, it's a lot of walking. So it's you will walk a lot of steps. You will be walking a lot of steps there. And so some people
That'll keep you young.
yeah. So, well, some people do have pre-Parkinson's or something that they're going to need assisted, and they don't. It isn't. There are other places with smaller footprints, like St. Dominic's.
So we've been talking about a number of different places. Is there one list, one place, or whatever that gives like the names of, I don't know how many local places with a little blurb about them? Not a whole lot of information that is kind of a guide, or do you just have to look independently for each one and this one and that one? Is it pick and choose?
I mean, I think there are some of these senior resource guides that you see at doctor's offices that list all of them. They're like little books that I see in doctor's offices and around town, senior resource guide that that lists all of them. I think you can say independent living communities. I don't think there is a place that lists like independent living. You're going to get with a place for mom. You're going to get on this site, and then people are going to start asking you, where do you live and what do you do? And then you'll start getting 5 million phone calls. I wouldn't really suggest going online that way, but there's this book called the Senior Resource Guide. That's like a little, I want to see if we could, I'm looking at it. Yeah, I'm looking at it online to see if there's a way we could call and order one.
So I'm looking online. There's US News has a continuing care retirement communities near Houston. I mean, there's lots of, if you just Google,
Right.
they come up with a lot of those.
I wouldn't get on a place for mom or caring.com, because then they'll ask you for your zip code.
Yes.
And then they'll start calling you and sending you stuff, and all these
Right.
places are going to start sending you stuff. I mean, they basically do the same thing as me, but there's a search engine and they're not going to help you. They're going to capture your information and start sending you stuff and harassing you.
So Lori, how do you charge for your services?
So I'm a free complimentary service. I'm very transparent. I do get paid by the community if and when you move in, and I kind of go on your journey. I set up tours. I teach you how to tour. I have a curated list of questions. I can help you negotiate, set you up lunch or what's ever important to you, and kind of figure out, strategize and how, when, what to do, and how we're going to go forward. I have to be like the referral source. So I need to say, oh, Debbie is touring. Like I talked to 2 people that in their late 60s, early 70s, and like, we want to see what's out there. So I sent them a bunch of places and I give their email address so they can send online brochures. They could take their time. And I think it's once a week they go to lunch someplace. So they're probably on their 9th week going every Thursday for lunch somewhere. And sometimes they're like, we're taking off this week.
That's
Just
right.
like-
That's kind of what I had envisioned about this group, but we're sort of busy. So should we come through you for our?
I mean, it's up to
tour?
you. It's up to you. The most important thing is that I think it's hard as a group to get that many together. So if you want to get in, obviously we could try to do one big group, or we can do 2 or 3. I have these other 3 girlfriends that are touring. I had a meeting with them. They picked out their top 3. They went to all 3 in a day, which I think is crazy, but they did. And now they picked of the 3 where they want to go back and have lunch. And then they're going to do another where they're going to go to 3. And then we talked about it. But one liked one and one liked the other. So not everything. I think it's smart that you're doing it now so that you can be in control of your decisions. And I think it's more important to know where you don't want to go.
Do any of these places have garages?
There are 2 or 3. Holly Hall has those villas in the back. I don't know if they have garage. I think they do have garages. There's one in Katy that has garages. There's one in Cypress that has garages. Well, actually, there's 2 in Katy. They would have to have a place that had a lot of property. They have like small little villas, like patio homes on the property. But there's 2 in Katy and 1 in Cypress. There's 1 in Jersey Village. But I mean, if you want to stay around, in and around Montrose, or you would have to go far, out farther to get something that has a garage. I mean, but they have like covered parking or inside parking. They all
What's your take on Eagles Trace?
my choice on Eagles Trace.
What's your,
I do like Eagles Trace. I mean, I feel like, if you're in your 70s, you want to move to Florida. Like, yeah, I think it's great. I mean, that's if you want to live on Highway 6. I don't know. And drive around a golf cart and wine dinners and super, super, super active. But there's a lot of people. And I think it's a really active and fun place if that's the kind of atmosphere you want to be in. It's got a lot of high oil and gas people and people that grew up in the energy corridor, and there's a lot of people that know each other there.
I have a question about the difference in nonprofit and for-profit. To me, logically, for people in our price range, nonprofit seems better, and they put the profit back in, like Holly Hall, at least they said, they put the profit back into staffing and facilities. Do you have a strong feeling about the difference other than price?
I don't feel like I can talk exactly on that because I've known some nonprofits that went bankrupt. So I feel like that's about the financial stability of the company, and to ask them when's the last time you did a renovation and like that. But I don't think I can speak on the nonprofit versus profit. I do know there's some companies that are, even with their profits, putting money back in and making sure that place is maintained, that are buying generators that can't, a lot of them say we have a generator, but it's just for like the food and the main room, but not go up to the room. So if people are on oxygen or something else, it isn't. So I think it's really important to ask what is last time you renovated, what are you doing to improve the property? What is your 5-year property plan? But I can't exactly talk about profit versus nonprofit because I think each of the places are doing different things. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. So can you tell us how to look for places that we don't want to be? What do we look for besides leaking roof?
No, I don't think that. I think that I discourage people to go to Holly Hall if they can't walk far. So, and also it has more of a religious slant to it. People that are not in that faith maybe might not be a fit for them. But I don't feel that there's any place. People love Tremont and it's been here for 60 years. And yes, it got a kind of little facelift, but I can't tell you that people are not happy there. They love it there. and it's not in a really safe location, but for the price, man, you can't beat it. So I don't think that there's a place not to. I feel like it's like touring colleges. Either you walk in and you feel, oh, I can see myself here, or no, this place is not for me. I don't think there's a bad place. I feel like, there's places, Clairwood and Holly Hall and Tremont, even some of the Brookdale properties that are lower income. You have to feel that it feels right. Like, I mean, if you were Asian and called me and said, where's a great independent living where there's an Asian community? I'd be like, Brookdale Memorial City has a lot of Asians. So I think it's really based on what you want to be doing. I mean, literally, and what is your lifestyle?
Okay, have we covered? Mercedes, were you going to ask a question? I saw you jumped in for a second.
There is some questions in the chat, so I haven't looked.
Okay, well, I think we're kind of monitoring them.
Can we get a copy of the slides? That's one of the questions.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't want to say where is a bad place, because some people walk in and be like, no. And some people walk in and be like, this is awesome. I mean, is there places north of Houston around Tyler? I don't cover Tyler. I go mostly up to Conroe. I do have a woman that I work with in Tyler that I would refer you to that knows Tyler. I mean, I helped someone find someone in Scottsdale. I'm working with someone in Colorado. I mean, someone in Colorado sent me someone who wants to move here. So I think that, and Julie does have my slide presentation, by the way. So feel free to send that around, Julie.
Yeah, I plan to. If you want me to send it to you, please put your email in the chat so I have a list when this meeting is over, so I know who to send it to.
Yeah, and like by no means, like you don't have to call if you're like want to ask me a question. But I really think that the next chapter of your life, you have to look at what you want to accomplish and how you want to like 2.0 yourself. Like, I want to start painting, like where a place that has a great studio or great light, or someone moved to like near the Rice area because they wanted to go take classes at Glazell. I mean, you kind of have to think, what is your 2.0 and how do you want to, how are you going to thrive and where are you going to feel at home? I mean, I don't think my clientele would feel great at home at Dominant, and that's not going to be their place. So we kind of have to look at you as an individual and say, where would you, I was listening to a presentation and she said, fit in that people are like you. I mean, I'm not a big fan of like, everyone has to be like me, but maybe someone that was moving out of town that never moved to Houston, maybe the Hallmark wouldn't be the place, because those are like kind of a River Oaksy kind of crowd and it kind of feels like that. So I feel that there are places that are more inclusive. There's places that have a bigger LGBTQ community. There's places that have a more Asian community. You have more intellectual programming that play Mexican Train. I toured this lady. This lady called and said she was a great Mahjong player. And so I sent her to all the Jewish places that played Mahjong. And she's like, they're not good enough for me. So I sent her to an Asian community and it's like moved in with all Asian people because they're great Mahjong players. So, I think it's like how you see yourself in moving forward and what floats you. Some people want to travel to see their grandkids. And so they want something simple and something affordable because they want to spend the money going and visiting them. Or some people like places that have pools so their grandkids can come swim there. Like, I think you really have to think about what makes you tick and where you feel that you would thrive and kind of look at the future. I unfortunately with my parents, we moved to independent, but my dad did have memory issues. We already knew that, and he was able to move in, and because my mom was there, but like when he decided to go outside in Dallas and hitchhike to Chicago, that probably wasn't a good place to be an independent anymore. So we had to move to secured memory care. So we had to move out of there and move somewhere. So I also think it's, if you do tour somewhere as independent, is say to yourself, I would highly recommend, could I see the assisted? Can I also see the memory care? Can I see the skilled nursing too? It's like, we shouldn't look at a place that has continuing care as the independent.
What place we refer to that's near Rice that you said you referred a
Oh, it's
lady?
a high rise, the village of Southampton.
Thank you.
It's a high rise in the middle. I mean, they have a golf cart, they drive you around. I mean, it's very contemporary. It's like the new kid on the block. It's expensive, but it's beautiful. And it's a high rise. Not people, some people don't want to live in a high rise. Some people are like, I love high rise. I think it's like, I feel like that's what we do best, is look at the whole person and try to figure out, like, I kind of think I'm a matchmaker. I mean, I kind of do. So I'm like, not the millionaire matchmaker, but a matchmaker is like, how can I give someone really what they want their 2.0 version of themselves to be? So, but I mean, I am here and available for anything, even if you ask questions, what do you think? What do you think about that? But like, I would have to like drill down on you to see what is important to you.
I
To be-
have put Lori's website address in the chat, so you can reach her through there. I'm sure her phone number and email, everything is there. And you can also see all the things that she and her associates do. It's pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
and I think that along the way, while you're doing this, there's so many different resources. Like, I definitely, the first thing I ever do with a client is talk about their legal work. I mean, I can't express enough that your legal work, your powers of attorney need to be intact. And because I just see so many people that didn't do that part, and it's like the mess at the end. There's a whole bunch of things that I think are important on going in this journey to think about and prepare. And while you still are able to do these things, I mean, I'm a big funeral planner, or at least decide what you want so someone else can. I know that sounds morbid and weird, but it's really a gift and a blessing. And so, but I do feel that you are really smart to be looking, and it is good to have a plan in place. A lot of people don't move to independent don't move to senior living until they need assisted or even memory care. And then by then they've lost the beauty of senior living. They're very isolated at home. They don't have purpose or community, which is what senior living does provide. And they go when they need so much help that they're kind of living in their apartment and not really getting the benefits of what senior living can be.
That's a really interesting comment. That is a great comment, that if you wait too long, you end up missing all the good parts and making all the friends that you could make, and you end up living in your apartment alone. That does not sound like fun.
And I mean, they say loneliness is worse than smoking a pack of cigarettes. I mean, I've seen this in COVID, through COVID. There's more memory care issues than ever before. To go back to that question, yes, there's a wait list in almost every memory care in Houston right now. That is definitely from COVID. Direct response from people were at home, they were completely by themselves, and if they did have some mild cognitive impairment, it was like a wildfire. So I do feel that keeping your mind active, exercise, active brain, body, and spirit is really the importance of life longevity. Eating nutritiously and expanding your mind and doing things out of your comfort zone, whether it's spiritual or exercise or conversations. And I do feel that that is the key to life longevity, laughing and being around people.
All right, well, it's time for us to call this a wrap.
I'd love to talk to you individually, even if you have questions. Call me anytime. On my slide presentation, it does have information and other resources. So I have a gal that's brilliant about all the options and the price and the cost and all these other things about funeral planning. She's not associated with a funeral home. She does it at a cost. So she's a really smart gal and young and really good. really amazing. They
Well,
give you a
feel free
contact details.
to send the names along, anything you think that we might be interested in. We tend to put
Yeah, sure.
programs together. So again, thank you everyone for attending. Love to see you all. So until next time, bye.
Bye.